So fermentation. So fermentation was done. उसके बाद alcohol, I told you, ethanol gets produced, and see conditions. We did discuss the conditions that anaerobic conditions without oxygen, and yeast is added as a catalyst in the temperatures around room temperature, क्योंकि higher or lower temperature denatures or makes the yeast inactive. ठीक है, तो ये हमने किया था. And I also told you that the yield is very low. It's around 7%. ठीक है, तो so that's around. ठीक है, that's around 7%. ठीक है, extremely low yield, and as soon as the alcohol gets produced, it kills the yeast. तो ये सारा हमने किया था, और प्लस इसमें a few more things which are कि the alcohol obtained is distilled. अच्छा, it's distilled from the mixture. तो वो उसको रिमूव कर देते हैं. ठीक है, अल्कोहल. So that's what fermentation is, and I guess that's about it. ठीक है, उसके ऊपर कुछ ज्यादा डिटेल में ही होगा. That's it. अच्छा, next thing is कि there's a thing called oxidation of alcohols. Now, oxidation क्या चीज़ है? Oxidation is when you add oxygen to something. ठीक है, it's the addition of oxygen, just the oxygen atoms. ठीक है, or it's also the removal of hydrogen. So number one, how do alcohols get oxidized? Alcohols, when exposed to air, get oxidized. तो एक तो ये तरीका है. ठीक है, they're going to get oxidized, and this is what's going to happen. कि जब आप किसी भी alcohol को ना, let's say ethanol है, ठीक है, और propanol has how many carbon atoms? It's got 3 carbon atoms. So this is going to be what? CH3. This is CH2. तो एयर के अंदर ना, हवा में, if there is oxygen in the air, तो it will get oxidized. ठीक है, and when an alcohol gets oxidized, तो it turns into a carboxylic acid. ठीक है, तो वो एसिड के अंदर कन्वर्ट हो जाता है, and so it's going to form a 3 carbon atom carboxylic acid. It's going to be double bond ON. OH इसके साथ 3 H होंगे. इसके साथ there's going to be 2 H's, and that's a carboxylic acid. ठीक है, plus water gets produced. ठीक है, the equation is already, ठीक है, it's already balanced. तो बस ये याद रखना है कि the alcohol, it turns into a carboxylic acid जब आप ये करते हो. ठीक है, the OH part, it turns into double bond ONOH. If it's, अगर वो प्रोपेनोइक एसिड होगा, so ये प्रोपेनॉल होगा, तो it will turn into propanoic acid. So it turns into, is that clear? बस जो भी alcohol होगा ना, it will turn into its corresponding carboxylic acid. So if I have ethanol, तो ethanol में कितने कार्बन होंगे? That's going to be 2. It's going to be OH. इस वाले के साथ there's going to be 3 H's. This one would have 2 H's. So that's ethanol. If I oxidize it in air, so it will turn into ethanoic acid. ठीक है, it will become double bond ON. and there's going to be three H's with this one, and plus water is going to get produced. So if I have ethanol, so I'm going to get the corresponding acid. So ये clear है? This thing.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Achha, then remember when you are oxidizing something, instead of air, if you want to do this like quickly, तो जो second है ना, oxidation of alcohols, ठीक है, the second part, that is, you can use alcohols can be oxidized using oxidizing agents. एक तो air के साथ होगा, एक होगा कि and air reaction would be very slow. तो oxidizing agents से काम चल जाता है, ठीक है. What are your oxidizing agents? There are two oxidizing agents that you, तो conditions जो होंगी ना इसकी. So number one is it's acidified camenophore. Remember, पूरी chemistry में ना there are two oxidizing agents that you have to remember. So there's acidified camenophore plus reflux. Or number two, it's नीचे रख लेते हैं. Number two is you can also use acidified K2Cr2O7 plus reflux. Yeah, heat with reflux लिखो तो ज़्यादा बेहतर है. Heat with, ये ऊपर भी change कर लेते हैं. Heat with reflux. I'm going to explain what reflux is. अच्छा, अब ये कि you got to remember the names and formulas of these two oxidizing agents. एक potassium magnate 7 है. See the first one, that's and the second one is potassium dichromate. That's potassium dichromate 6. ठीक है, ये दो. Now these are just your oxidizing agents. The reaction pretty much remains exactly the same. कि अगर if I have butanol, ठीक है, butanol में कितने carbons होंगे? It's going to have NOH and it's going to have 3 H's with this one. It's going to have 2 H's, 2 H's, and there's going to be 2 H's. So the oxidizing agent is normally represented by NO. ठीक है, that shows your oxidizing agent. तो मतलब आप equation ना actually KMNO4 या K2Cr2O7 के साथ नहीं रखते, ठीक है. You don't write their names. What you instead do is you just write O in place of their whole formula, ठीक है. Because with them the equation is like really complicated, ठीक है. तो वो equation को ना थोड़ा सा simplify किया होता है. But anyways, if you start off with butanol, you're going to get butanoic acid. So it's going to be a 4 carbon atom carboxylic acid, ठीक है. तो ये 3 H's है. Two H's, 2 H's. Plus water is going to be produced next to it. ठीक है. तो ये क्लियर है. और थोड़ा सा मैं reflux के बारे में बता देता हूँ कि what is heat with reflux. I mean, it literally means heating. ठीक है. There's no difference. It just means heating something. But इसका diagram copy कर लेते हैं इंटरनेट से ना. अच्छा, तो अच्छा, this is what is meant by heat with reflux, ठीक है? ये diagram सही है. बस पता नहीं कॉपी नहीं हो रहा. अच्छा, मैं वैसे ड्रॉ कर लेता हूँ. अच्छा, so heat with reflux is कि अच्छा, they might ask you to draw this, ठीक है? इसको थोड़ा. अच्छा, then there is a condenser. अच्छा, condenser आ गया. And the condenser is going to have water inlet in and out, ठीक है? अच्छा, खाली सिर्फ there's a condenser on top, ठीक है? There's a round bottom flask and it's got a condenser on top. इसलिए यहाँ से ओपन है. जो सही. So this is how a condenser works. There's water in, cold water in, and cold water out. ठीक है, water out. अच्छा, this बीच वाली जो चीज़ है, that's completely filled with water, ठीक है? So there's water. अच्छा, there's water over here. अच्छा, reflux is you're heating a substance, so there's some liquid that you're trying to heat. जैसा ऊपर वाले केस में हम उसको we've got the alcohol plus acidified KMnO4. Acidified KMnO4 का मतलब KMnO4 के साथ ना there is acid added to it, ठीक है? We're trying to heat it, ठीक है? तो when you try to heat it, the thing with alcohol is that it's very, very volatile, ठीक है? So you're trying to heat it at the bottom. अच्छा, very volatile का क्या मतलब है? It evaporates very quickly. अच्छा, it evaporates very quickly. अच्छा, अब issue ये कि when you try to heat or now heating is very important. Heat इसलिए important है. Otherwise, alcohol and KMnO4 are not going to react. ठीक है, oxidation will not happen. लेकिन issue ये होता है कि as soon as you heat it, the alcohol will evaporate and most of the alcohol will simply leave the container. ठीक है, तो वो कंटेनर ही छोड़ के ना most of the alcohol will simply leave the container. तो आप क्या करते हो? Just hold on 1 second. अच्छा अच्छा, आवाज आ रही है?
Yes, sir.
अच्छा, तो रिफ्लक्स कंडेंसर जो ऊपर टॉप पे डाला हुआ है ना, उसका पर्पस ये है कि सिंस द अल्कोहल विल इवेपोरेट वेरी इजीली, इट इवेपोरेट्स क्विकली, द कंडेंसर प्रिवेंट्स इट फ्रॉम एस्केपिंग। वो उसको वापस नीचे ना कंडेंस करके वापस नीचे फेंक देता है। सो इवन इफ द अल्कोहल इवेपोरेट्स, tries to leave the container, ऊपर जाके ना कंडेंसर के अंदर ना the molecules are going to lose energy and they're going to fall back. तो उनको फिर जबरदस्ती ना KMnO4 के साथ रिएक्शन करना ही पड़ता है, ठीक है? तो कंडेंसर प्रिवेंट्स द अल्कोहल वेपर्स फ्रॉम एस्केपिंग। ये चीज क्लियर है सारों को? भैया शादी क्लियर, नीला
Sir,
क्लियर है?
can you explain the equation again? Like, what is the OA?
अच्छा, वो ऑक्साइजिंग एजेंट ना, वो एक्चुअली ना रिएक्शन ना KMnO4 के साथ जो रिएक्शन है ना, एक्चुअल जो इक्वेशन है वो कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है ना, तो वो KMnO4 या K2Cr2O7 को ना O से रिप्रेजेंट कर देते हैं। दैट्स इट, ठीक है? OA मींस
Okay,
ऑक्साइजिंग
sir.
एजेंट, ठीक है? जो बाकी क्लियर है ये कि रिफ्लक्स क्या होता है, हीट विद रिफ्लक्स? You always use heat with reflux for substances that are very volatile, ठीक है? ताकि वो अगर आपने उसको केमरो के साथ रिएक्ट करना, वो इवेपोरेट करके बाहर निकल गया, सारा जाया हो जाएगा, ठीक है? So what you want to do is कि you want it to, मतलब it is going to evaporate अगर आप उसको हीट करोगे, but you're going to put a condenser so that it condenses and falls back into the container, ठीक है? बाहर ना जा सके। Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
तो अल्कोहल का पहला पार्ट, अभी अल्कोहल का एक रिएक्शन रह गया, वो फिर अभी उसमें करते हैं, कार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड में करते हैं। तो we're done with alcohol. All you need to do is alcohols get oxidized, ठीक है? ये कार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड करने के बाद ना we're going to do esters, उसमें फिर से अल्कोहल आ जाएगा। अच्छा, so now we're going to do, अच्छा now we're going to do carboxylic acids. अच्छा, so what are carboxylic acids? Carboxylic acid हमने कहा था कि what were they? They were molecules that had this particular functional group, ठीक है? So they all had this functional group. So if I have propanoic acid, तो propanoic acid would be, prop का क्या मतलब होता है? Prop का मतलब होता है 3 carbon atoms, and it's going to have double bond ON. So that's what propanoic acid is. ठीक है? That's a propanoic acid. इसी तरह methanoic acid, meth means meth का क्या मतलब होता है? कितने कार्बन होते हैं meth? क्या होता है दुआ मयम?
1.
ठीक है, 1 कार्बन आटम, तो उसके अंदर डबल बॉन्ड ON, OH carbon is short of 1 bond, so there's going to be an H added, ठीक है? So that's methanoic acid. अच्छा, so these are carboxylic acids. Carboxylic acid की जो physical properties हैं कि physical properties में they have high melting and boiling points. अच्छा, तो एक तो ये हो गया, they have, तो उसकी वजह से ना most of them are volatile liquids, या simply liquids कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है? अच्छा, for example, ऐसे इतने volatile नहीं होते, alcohols are like very volatile. अच्छा, most of them are liquids, ठीक है, they're not gases. अच्छा, फिर ये कि since they have high melting and boiling points, एक एग्जांपल ये कि विनेगर है, ठीक है, विनेगर जो that's ethanoic acid. Second property, and that is कि they don't conduct electricity. नहीं, they do actually conduct electricity, उसको छोड़ दो. I mean, they're weak acids, that's another property. pH जो होगा ना, that's going to be somewhere between 4 to 7. Weak acids होने की वजह से ना, they've got all these, ये जितने भी आपके citric acid और citrus fruit के अंदर जो acidic sour taste होता है ना, malic acid that's in apples. I mean, a lot of your fruits have carboxylic acid. So they're going to have वही सारा bitter sour taste होगा जिसका vinegar होता है. I said then the third thing is कि they conduct electricity weakly. As they have free moving ions, but very few. As they happen to be weak acids. अच्छा, weak acid जो होता है वो ionize नहीं करता, ठीक है. So anyways, those are the physical properties. मैं उनको explain भी कर देता हूँ. Pass पे last two. So alcohols are weak acids, ठीक है. What is a weak acid? Weak acid जो होता है वो होता है कि alcohol कह रहा हूँ, carboxylic acid, sorry. ये पहले भी alcohol तो नहीं लिखा हुआ था. अच्छा, they're weak acids. अब इसमें होता क्या है if they're weak acids? What's a weak acid? Weak acid, it ionizes partially. It dissociates partially and produces fewer H positive ions. ठीक है, तो कम H positive ions produce करेंगे. So they don't ionize a lot. So whenever you have a carboxylic acid, ठीक है, for example, any carboxylic acid, पहले तो issue ये कि वो कौन सा H plus ion produce करेगा. This is going to have 3 H's. So remember, first thing is, it's always the OH वाला जो H है ना, that is the one that breaks away. ठीक है, तो हमेशा अच्छा, हमेशा it's that H that breaks away. So it forms what? It forms और ये जो O है ना, ये अकेला रह जाता है, ठीक है, and the H plus 1 leaves. So it's always the OHH, ठीक है. You have to remember this, but whenever you see a carboxylic acid, ये जो last one H है ना, that's the one that simply breaks away, and it ends up forming an H plus 1 ion. तो ये ethanoic acid है. So it ends up forming an ion which is known as ethanoate. इसी तरह any other acid, pick any other acid, 3 carbon atom वाला, if I pick propanoic acid, so that's going to do the same thing. तो उसमें भी सेम चीज होगी. ये वो जो एंड वाला H है ना, this is the one that's going to break away. So it's going to do what? It's going to do, well, it's going to form CH3CH2. वो लास्ट वाला जो H है ना, that has dissociated, ठीक है। तो अगर आपके पास you've got propanoic acid, तो यहाँ पे क्या होगा, it's going to form propanoate ion, ठीक है। ये क्लियर है बात सारों को? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So remember, carboxylic acids are weak acids, और वो सारे के सारे H+ ions produce करते हैं, but very weakly or partially. Only very few molecules actually dissociate or ionize. So that's what carboxylic acids are. And that's why your solution is going to have ions. And that's why it will conduct electricity. So your solution has at least some free moving ions. Hence, it conducts electricity. It just partially conducts electricity. As the next is K, so it conducts electricity partially. Okay? Next, जो चीज़ है वो ये कि what it now since carboxylic acids are acids, right? So carboxylic acids undergo all acid reactions. So जो reactions acids के होते थे ना, they're going to undergo all those reactions. For example, if I pick HCl, right? One reaction was a metal reacting with an acid. तो क्या बनता था? Salt plus hydrogen gas. And remember, only reactive metals, ठीक है? So for example, if I had Mg reacting with an acid like HCl, so it would produce what? It would produce a salt. तो H को नॉकआउट करता था, MgCl बन जाता था. Mg was +2, Cl was -1, और plus H2 gas. ठीक है, ये क्लियर है?
Yes,
So
sir.
your carboxylic acids are going to do something exactly the same. Carboxylic acid क्या करेगा कि if Mg is going to react with it, so let's say ethanoic acid है CH3, मैंने इसको कंडेंस करके लिख दिया, ठीक है? मैंने ethanoic acid मैंने पहले भी लिखा था. Like what is ethanoic acid? That's ethanoic acid क्या होगा? That's going to be CH3. अगर उसको कंडेंस करके CONOH, right? So that's ethanoic acid. So remember कौन सा वाला H हटना है इसका? Mg is going to come in, और उसका जो N वाला H है ना उसको नॉकआउट करेगा. तो it's going to be CH3 CO-1 ethanoate ion बन गया, और उसकी जगह पे H की जगह पे क्या आ गया? Mg आ गया. And the H gets knocked out, so it's going to form H2 gas. According to crisscross, this should be 2. E होगा ना, -1 और +2. So the charges are going to be balanced if there are 2 of the ethanoate ions. So this is what this is ethanoic acid, और वो क्या? That's your magnesium. That's your magnesium ethanol. ये clear?
Yes, sir.
So similarly, any other reaction, let's say, बल्कि वो carboxylic acid का ना, there was this general formula as well, which was you could use CnH2n plus 1. ठीक है, you could use that. यानी प्रोपेनोइक एसिड, बस N जो है ना, that's going to be for example प्रोपेनोइक एसिड is 3 carbon atoms, right? तो एक यहाँ पे है, so there's going to be 2 over here. तो N की वैल्यू जो होती है ना, that's 1 less than the number of carbon atoms. तो प्रोपेनोइक एसिड is 3, तो यहाँ पे आपने 2 लेना है क्योंकि 1 यहाँ पे पहले ही है. So it's going to be C2. H क्या होगा? Double plus 1, so that's going to be 5, and C double OH, ठीक है? So that's exactly what this is. C2H5 and then there is COOH. अच्छा, खैर ये जनरल फॉर्मूला यूज कर लेते हैं. तो I've got sodium, ठीक है? I have sodium and sodium is reacting with, let's say react with propanoic acid. तो वो अभी हमने किया था C2H5. So what is the product? The product is going to be, the metal would come in, it would knock out the H, so it's going to become C2H5, CO -1, और उसकी जगह पे ना the metal would come in, and the H will get knocked out as H2 gas. And since only one H is getting knocked out, so I'm going to put half in front of it. So this was what? Propanoic acid. So ये क्या? This is sodium propanoid. ठीक है, that's sodium propanoid. ये clear है?
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, remember that's the first reaction. ये बिल्कुल जो first reaction है we did.
Sir, ये सोडियम प्रोपेनॉइड सॉल्ट हुआ?
हाँ, ये salt है. ठीक है, तो वो salt और so that's the first reaction. Metal plus acid produces salt plus H2. तो इस तरह के ना 4 और reactions है acids के. There's metal oxide, metal hydroxide plus acid. There's carbonate plus acid as well. ठीक है, तो चलिए ठीक है एवरीवन, ये भी यहाँ पे करते हैं खत्म. और कार्बोक्सिलिक एसिड के जो रिएक्शंस है ना, व्हिच आर एसिड रिएक्शंस बेसिकली, इट्स अ वीक एसिड. उसके अंदर आपको पता होना चाहिए द लास्ट H+ दैट इज द वन दैट ब्रेक्स अवे. ठीक है, और बाकी हमने बस वो अल्कोहल की ना वो क्या था कि दे गेट ऑक्साइड. You got butanol, it turns into butanoic acid. You got propanol, it turns into propanoic acid. तो चलिए कल कंटिन्यू करते हैं, ठीक है?
ओके सर, अल्लाह हाफिज.
Okay, sir.
ओके, ठीक है.
Allah Hafiz.
Okay.